Hello and welcome to another episode of Startup Hustle Middle East. Today we're very excited to have Ajinkya on the show. So Ajinkya is the Senior Executive of Investments and Research in ASA Ventures. We really struggled saying that. So this is basically take 3 of that. But anyway, so we're very excited about this show because Ajinkya he's attended several pitches and he's going to tell us top 10 mistakes that founders do when pitching their business to VCs. So let's start a little bit with your background. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I grew up in Dubai. I've been super used to the ecosystem here. I got really interested into startups when I was graduating uni. So I spent a little time at Magnet as an intern for I think 2 months. And then I moved on to this venture capital firm, ASA Ventures. And since then, it's been really interesting. We go through 3 to 4 startup pitches on a daily basis. So I think topic's super appropriate.
Yeah. No, we're very excited about this episode.
Yeah, so if you guys don't know, Magnet is this website platform where startups can list different things like what they're doing, how much they've raised, connect with other team members and stuff. So it's very entrenched in the startup ecosystem as well.
It's like Crunchbase.
Yeah, kind of like Crunchbase for the Middle East. And so now you decided to get into venture capital, right?
Yeah. So ASA Ventures is a VC firm. We've been around for 15 years. We started off in Portugal and then we've sort of headquartered Dubai since 2013. We're spread in different economies, India, Pakistan, KSA, UAE, Portugal, and etc. We sort of do something that's very common in the US, but not so much in the UAE. It's sort of an operational model. So we do our monetary investment, but on top of that, we support every startup in an operational manner, where we sort of take up some of their operations. We understand that entrepreneurs are not going to be an expert of, they're expected to be, but they're not, more likely than not, they're not going to be an expert of things like logistics and warehouses and sort of coding. Some entrepreneurs probably not. So we have our own teams which take up those responsibilities. Like we do for lots of startups, we do their marketing, development. We take up their logistics if they need to, lots of their operational aspects, lots of the development, customer management for a lot of them. So that's the model we follow. On top of the monetary investment, we also do sort of an operational investment where it makes it quicker for the startup to turn around and become profitable. Because there are actual experts who do this on a day-to-day basis, handling this, whereas it's not an entrepreneur who's learning it off Google and then trying to implement it and learning in the process.
So you're like an accelerator.
A combination of it's not an accelerator. It's the VC term for it is an operational partner.
Okay.
So there are 2 types. There's monetary VCs. That's not the term, but that's a classification of VCs. And then there's operational VCs, which sort of do all of it. And the monetary VCs just sort of invest money and do it that way.
So there aren't many in this region?
Not many in the UAE. But it's a very common model in US. And it's sort of the private equity model where a company is being invested in and then the private equity firm sort of handles that company as a whole, as their own baby. So it makes it easier for the startups as well with the ASA because as soon as they come on board as their portfolio company, they have access to all these resources for sort of no cost, and it's just investment on top of investment. So there's money and then all of this operational
all the
support.
resources.
So that helps them out a lot, and I mean it works for both of us. So.
One of the biggest issues in this market is recruitment and hiring. And you can speed up that whole process. So we're going to leave all the links to ASA Ventures in the show notes and the description of the YouTube video, whichever way you're watching it, so you can check out what they do in more detail and see some of the companies that they've invested in. So today we're going to do a top 10 list, right, of the biggest mistakes that people make when they pitch to VCs. And of course, he's seen a lot of pitches. So let's get
started. What's the number 1 mistake?
I think number 1 is probably the length of people's pitches. Like some just go on and they themselves are lost and the investor is lost and they don't know what's going on and the investors sort of lost focus, lost interest. No one knows, what the idea is, what the problem is. It's all scattered. So I think missing out on that timeline and missing out on that flow. So it really needs to be problem the need for a solution, the solution, and then what do you need? Investments, partnership, whatever. So it really needs to be in those 4 buckets, and it should be quick. Just either, if you're not a good speaker, just make it to the point, these 4 buckets. If you're a good speaker, then you should be able to tie all of them in.
Yeah.
And sort of, it should be seamless if you're a good speaker. But if you're not, it's okay to sort of just make 4 buckets and have it straight up. Like, this is the problem. This is why we need a solution. This is our solution. And this is what we need to implement it.
Okay. We actually did an episode of what your pitch deck needs to include, as well as how to make your elevator pitch. And we link to that episode. We can't link to that episode because we don't have a video of that episode. It was one of the first few.
Podcast,
we linked to the podcast.
Yeah, I think I've heard that one. That's when I started listening.
Okay.
Yay.
So, what do you think is the ideal length for a pitch?
Really depends on the business, but I would say no more than 4 to 5 minutes.
4 to 5 minutes.
Because you need to leave, because the investors or a VC firm is naturally going to have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
So it's okay to sort of leave questions on their table and sort of let them do the work of asking them to you.
Okay.
You want to use your 4-5 minutes because that's sort of the attention span you will have anyway. Because it's your first. Now, when we talk about pitch, it's the first meeting. It's the first time you're seeing these guys. You just really need to be, you really need them to be interested.
Right.
You're not sort of trying to explain the 3rd line of your 200,000 line code. You just want to sort of get them on board and get their interest. So 4 to 5 minutes, just get them interested. Let them have questions. So usually when a VC has questions, has like tough questions for you, it usually is a sign of interest. Not always, but it can be considered as a sign of interest.
Yeah, or they want to see if you scare easy as well, right?
No, they really want to test the entrepreneurs there.
Yeah.
So when we meet entrepreneurs at events, we sort of exchange business cards, and it goes on to emails, and they send over their pitch deck. Sometimes these pitch decks are too long. Like, we've had 40, 50, 60 page pitch decks, which are just really difficult to go through, and they're just sort of filled with information that's not necessary in for the first time. So if you ever sort of, as an entrepreneur, meet an investor or a VC or an angel, wherever, I think it's best to send like a quick snapshot, a 1 or 2 page thing, or if you don't want to go through the trouble, or if your pitch deck looks great, if you worked hard on your pitch deck, just send that across, 10, 20 slides.
20 slides?
Yeah. I mean, 20 is okay if you've got an elaborate. I think the Ajinkya one's like 26.
No, it's not that long.
Was that this long one then?
So I have a pitch deck that's like 10 slides. And then I have another deck which
that's
is
the one I'm talking
longer. So when somebody expresses interest in the first deck, then when they want more details, I send the second one. So that's how usually I do it. But I think even the 10 slides is... I think 10 slides is about a good number. I wouldn't cross 15 slides maybe, probably.
I agree. And I think it's a good idea to have versions of your pitch deck, right? So we actually have 3. So one is for press, which is just super quick snapshot. So if there's any publication that's interested in writing a press release about Ajinkya, then all the mandatory information is there, 2 pages, that's it. One for when you've had a very short introduction at an event, and then a slightly longer one for when you're presenting. So we think it's better to do a couple variations of your pitch deck.
Yeah, so when I'm presenting, that one's a bit longer. The one where we just send an email, that's a shorter one.
Always leave them wanting more.
Another interesting one I came across was, this just made life so much easier, was this one entrepreneur would send us, his pitch deck or his financials or whatever document. And he'd always send a voice note in the email along with it, explaining it and walking you through it.
Oh, that's interesting.
It was really convenient. Like, at first I thought, it's a little weird. Why?
It's a gimmick or something.
Yeah, why is he like sort of voice noting me? And then when I like sort of had the pitch deck or the financials on one screen and the audio playing in my earphones, it was really convenient. Like, I didn't think it would help so much.
That is very
it's sort of a good idea.
Yeah, it takes away the fact that you have to use your brain to connect everything, because he's walking you through
the story.
And it feels weirdly personal because they're talking to you and like you're seeing it. So
I think for you guys as well, you come across so many pitch decks. I think the whole idea of someone doing it a little bit differently also
makes a
stands out.
difference, yes.
And then if it works, if it makes your life easier when you're reviewing the pitch, then it really stands out, right?
Yeah.
So
on top of your pitch itself, I think the second really important point is your pitch deck and what's in it. Sometimes people make them too long, or make them just text heavy. It's just walls of text after walls of text, like your research and your problem statement. It's all just text, and it gets really difficult to read through those things sometimes. And like it's difficult to sort of keep track and understand from the perspective the entrepreneur's written it, because the investor is obviously reading it, just without any context. They're just they're just reading text. So I think having figures and having sort of interactive videos or a quick demo of the app or a link to the demo or a link to the website, and just making it more, less text heavy,
more sexy,
just something you want to see,
right?
Not like don't put
visually appealing.
Don't put Comic Sans in there and like rainbow colors.
Does that happen? Do people
I've seen one.
Really? Oh my
We've
god.
seen a few with like someone writing through us THRU.
Oh my god.
Some pitch decks are just ridiculous.
Oh my god, that is crazy. I'm going to do a shameless little plug here, but at Yellow, because a lot of our clients are startups, we actually have clients coming to us to help us write their pitch deck. When they're meeting with investors or when they're attending competitions and things. So if you can't do it yourself and you don't want to pay Yellow to do it, then find a friend to do it, But if you want Yellow to do it, leave us a voice message on Anchor.
Also, I think one more thing is don't send your financials in like a PDF. If it's projections, do not send it in PDFs. If it's actuals, if it's a statement, then that's still understandable. But if it's projections, do not send in PDF, because what happens in a VC firm is that the analyst will probably try to reorganize those numbers and analyze and sort of, there's calculations that go into it. Right. So having a PDF you'll just get hate from the analyst, because they're like, I'm not doing it. Because you have to do the exercise of typing those numbers and then analyzing them.
Right.
So,
I have a question though. If you've just met a VC at an event and you're sending them your pitch deck, should you share the financials without an NDA in place?
It's up to the entrepreneur.
Okay.
I mean, we as ASA Ventures, we are open to someone sending across an NDA, and we get that. We sort of respect that privacy, but there are times when investors aren't too keen, because sort of VCs go through a lot of business ideas. Or usually what will happen is what sometimes happens with us is we're like, we'll send our NDA and then that covers both of us. Why VCs don't want to go through NDAs is because they see like so many ideas that
how many NDAs are you going
they don't
to
want
sign?
potential conflict. Not just how many NDAs, they just don't want to they don't want that sort of exposure. It's still okay in the UAE. This is a big deal in the US where anyone can sue anyone. Whereas in the UAE it's still a bit more, it's fine.
It's a bit more lax.
I think a third vital addition to sort of your pitch or your first time meeting a VC is having a demo. So it just adds a different dimension from your pitch decks and your problem statement. It just adds a third dimension where it gives the investor a real life understanding of the problem and a real life understanding of your solution. One cool thing I think I've noticed, even Siddharth does this with Ellie, who came in the previous episode, Yalla Pickup. First time I met him, he just pulls out his phone and shows me the app and shows me how it's working. Even with Siddharth, I know that he pulls out his phone and shows the website and shows how it works. And that makes a huge difference. And especially if it's a company where it's a, service where they're simplifying another process, those demos are like mind-blowing, because if it's not just a website and app and it's like a process, it's sort of gets you food in 5 minutes and you show that demo, it blows your mind. So it's the same with Zomato. Like if I tell you can just place an order from an app, it's whatever.
It's different for sure.
So when you do it and you feel the convenience happening in front of you, that just makes it totally new experience.
But with the demo, like you have to
make sure it works though. Make sure it works.
I've seen a lot of demos fail.
That is awful.
If it doesn't work, it's tough.
For Ajinkya, when we send the pitch through, and Sid hasn't had an opportunity to show the awesome user experience on his phone, then we also have a video which plays.
Yeah, we have a demo video.
Yeah.
I think like if you're not 100% sure of your product, it's better to do a video.
Yeah.
Which is instead of doing a live demo, you do a stage demo.
Yeah.
At least that way you know that the demo is going to go smooth.
Yeah.
But nothing like doing a live demo.
Yeah,
Like,
at
it's very
Equity Room,
impressive, right?
At Equity Room, that's what we did with Colleagues. We were sort of backstage, and it sort of struck to us that adding a live element to this would be really cool for the demo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we picked on the tie of one of the investors, and we put that into our demo, and luckily it worked out.
Yeah.
We weren't really scared about the demo. We were just scared if the whole speaker would be audible on the speakers and all of that.
Yeah,
The mics would
there
pick
is
it
that chance element,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
As much as you rehearse.
Exactly.
Yeah, technically something could go wrong on
Yeah.
stage.
But if it
or-
goes right, it's just amazing.
It is amazing.
It always works.
Yeah, Ajinkya was pitching Colleagues in the Equity Room, and we've done an episode on the Equity Room as well, and it's very complimentary for Ajinkya because we spoke about how the pitch went well, the live demo was great, but we also spoke about how well the questions were tackled, and how it was a really fun dance to watch. So good job on that. So I think the fact that you've witnessed a lot of pitches definitely probably has an impact on when you are pitching. So
also, when you pitch, your mindset as an entrepreneur definitely needs to be a mindset of it doesn't really matter. I know it matters. It matters, but
let's go out guns blazing.
You need to, you do need to fake aspects. Okay, I don't want to say fake, but you do need to sort of make up that image in your head that this does not matter. So you're not as nervous.
Because the stress will kill you.
Yeah, the stress will just kill you.
And it shows, I think.
Yeah.
Like if you're too stressed out or if you're too nervous about it, it definitely comes across in your pitch.
Yeah,
I think the best pitches I've seen, at least out in the office, have been just people just chilling and sitting down and just talking about their business idea. It's never been like the best pitches I've seen aren't standing
slide
up
one.
Slide one. I mean, if that works for someone, that's fine, but the best ones, but these people, the best ones I've seen have been great at conversation, which is why the bias. But if standing up and slide one works for you, then go with that. But it needs to be, it's something that needs to be rehearsed a lot with different types of people, because different types of people perceive it differently. So it's something it sort of needs to be it should be like a fixed, like before I pitched for the Equity Room, I had the whole thing sort of so internalized that I could start whenever, and it would be the exact same thing every time. So you just need to rehearse it again and again. If it's not conversational, if it is, then lucky you.
Even in our conversation with Ellie from Yella Pickup, that's what he spoke about. It's just about practicing it like crazy and practicing it to the point that where you can just go at any time, but also when you do go and do your pitch, it almost seems spontaneous, but it's not. It's just so much rehearsal. So.
Number 4 is, I think the entrepreneurs need to do a lot of research on the investor or the VC that they're approaching, and sort of, if possible, come up with an exit strategy that sort of caters to them specifically.
Now that's something interesting that you're saying, because I've heard the two things, like I've heard like investors don't like entrepreneurs who are already looking to exit their business, and I've also heard that like you should have some idea of what your potential exit might be for your investors. So that's like contradictory advice. So what do you think about that? Like,
I think it should be exit for the investors. You don't want to highlight your exit as an entrepreneur. You want to highlight an potential exit for the.
But do you feel like investors might think like, okay, you're just building this business
for exit
purpose and not to grow it into like a big company or like a potential IPO or whatever.
As in a VC mindset, they will have an exit already in plan if they're going to invest with you.
Because that's why they're investing, right?
I guess an IPO is also a form of exit.
It is.
But also an IPO is so rare.
in this region.
in this region, that I feel like that's not a point of
I
consideration.
don't think the ecosystem is there yet.
Yeah.
probably
It's
not.
I think it's still at a point where sort of entrepreneurs can show the investor that there are possible collaborations in this business, and
Right.
investors can, maybe the investor is not even thinking along those lines, and because you mentioned the point, the investor would realize that, oh hey, wait, actually
This makes
this could
sense.
work and this would be profitable for me, or even if it's not profitable for them, they might just want to help you out.
What about profitable businesses? Like, what do you like? Companies that can potentially, earn profit. What about those companies? Do they also have to have an exit strategy? I'm just asking.
Depends. I mean, now this is where your research on the investor comes in. If your investor research shows up that it's an investor who wants in out in 1 or 2 years, then yeah, sure, highlight the exit strategy, highlight what potential options the investor may have. But if it's a VC where they sort of willing to support you beyond just a monetary investment, so it's in a model like ASA, then I think it should
be more long.
It should be more of a strategic partnership, or a partnership that helps you grow as opposed to an exit strategy.
Right.
So it's just your investor research that you do prior to meeting someone.
Do you think it's better to know what your exit strategy is based on the investor you're meeting, but leave that out of your deck, and
I think
only
it's good
if you're
to-
asked is when you volunteer that information?
Yeah.
Because like Sid said, it is true that some of them, I mean, of course, a lot of investors would be keen to know what your exit strategy is, but some of them may think that exit strategy is 10 years from now rather than 4.
Yeah.
So is it better to leave that out of the deck then?
I think it's something that's good for you to have thought of as an entrepreneur. It's something you need to do from day one. But usually a VC will sort of ask you if they don't see, if it's not obvious. For most startups, it's pretty obvious. It's going to be sold off to a bigger company, or it's going to go to an IPO.
Yeah.
But if it's not obvious, then and you're asked, it's good to have an answer instead of sort of being asked what's your exit strategy, and you're just like, oh, we can do this and that and that.
Okay.
It helps to have an answer.
I think as an entrepreneur, you need to think about it for sure.
Yeah.
Like you need to know like at what point you'll be profitable and how you could potentially exit.
Yep.
Those two things you should know anyway. And I mean, any VC is looking for the exit, right?
Yep. Number 5 would probably be over or unrealistic valuations or overvalued companies. I think entrepreneurs sort of really need to first of all, your valuation, I know this is not every entrepreneur's expertise, and that's okay, but your valuation at least needs to be supported by facts. A lot of entrepreneurs sort of make assumptions like, oh, there are 10 million people in UAE. If we get even 10% of that, we'll have 1 million users. And then 1 million users will pay us 10 dirhams each, and then we're making 10 million dirhams.
Oh my god.
So no, that sort of an assumption does not work, because what are the chances? It's possible, but it's not plausible. Nor is it probable.
And how will you get those 1 million?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, what's your route to market?
Yeah.
All those things.
I mean, it can make sense in a conversation with your friend, but when you're pitching to an investor, do not sort of stick to this being your only assumption.
I think most entrepreneurs, including myself, have made that mistake.
Yeah.
Where you just be like, oh, this is the number of people that come. 1%, if you get 1%, then it's enough. But to get to that 1% is extremely hard.
Yeah.
So
I think valuation is a very interesting topic and potentially worth an episode on its own as well. But very quickly, what things should you consider when you are
so when you value your company, the first thing you need to ask yourself, or when you're done with your valuation, this is something that comes from a professor I know. You need to ask yourself if your valuation is possible, probable, and plausible. So it's there is a high chance that it's very probable, but when you get on to the next two, you sort of cut down your chances of it happening. If your valuation is sufficient to answer all three of these, then it's probably fair.
Okay.
But get it checked. Again, like I said,
would ASA check it for?
Yeah, we always do sort of a second valuation to your valuation. We never take valuations for face. In fact, any investor takes them at face value. That's what the team is for, and that's what these guys are sort of. They're educated, not educated. They're sort of trained to do this. Their education has been focused on just two or three of these things.
Right.
So having valuations supported by facts, so a valuation will be based on assumptions, and that's okay, but each assumption needs to be backed by 2 or 3 facts at the minimum.
Okay.
You can't just be making up assumptions. If you're doing an assumption, back that up by facts, research, statistics, speak to people, speak to industry experts, speak to whoever you need to, but
your assumptions should be more or less accurate.
Based on logic, not
based on
just
logic,
like
not just like
Yep. Okay, cool.
And also then there's times where some companies are valued based on virality.
That's just crazy.
Doesn't work.
What do you mean based on virality?
So it's just like
everyone will share my business.
Yeah, if it
idea.
works, then everyone's gonna do it. My video will get 3 million views. That sort of a mindset.
Yeah.
Just doesn't work. Where we're doing this.
That's not predictable at all. So.
We're doing this.
It's impossible.
We're copying this business from the US, and like there's 10 million people using it there, so there'll at least be 2 million people using it here. No, not gonna work.
Yeah.
We had one startup who sort of justified their valuation using another company's valuation. Now this,
but in the same market, I think in the same market is okay.
No, not in the same market. It works when these are established companies. So if you are determining the valuation of Adidas by comparing it to Nike, now okay, these are very different examples, but okay, if you take car company A and car company B, let's say BMW and Merck, and you compare the valuations, that's okay because they've existed for a long period of time.
Right.
But when you do it with startups, it was
so you can't say I'm going to create the Instagram of the Y.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
each one's gonna have its own valuation, and you sort of can't use that comparables method. Yes, after Series A, Series B, after you're making profits and you have proper operational costs,
but definitely
it's
not
fair,
seed round.
but not seed round. When it's an idea, you really can't compare it.
Yeah. Okay. Good one. Cool.
Alright, so what's the next point?
Number 6, I think failing to address potential risks. What happens is when entrepreneurs sort of spend days and nights working on their product and working on their startup, they sort of have these rose-colored glasses and they fail to see, very obvious risks sometimes. And sometimes not so obvious, and that's fair.
Yeah.
But at least the obvious ones, you want to know them. You want to have them internalized. You want to have a fix for them. You want to have a way around. Now, don't mention them in your pitch deck. Mention a few if you want to. The not so serious ones, but if there are serious ones, then just keep them to yourself. But just know that VCs and investors go through startups 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe a day. So they probably know that these risks are there. Okay. So it's good for the entrepreneurs to have an answer prepared, because they will ask you. A VC or an investor will ask you more likely than not. So have an answer prepared whenever sort of one of those comes up.
So just for the sake of clarification for the audience, what do you mean by risks? Like, could you give an example?
So things that would sort of hurt your business. For example, if you're let's talk about Collex. Now, one of a potential risk to Collex. So Collex is basically a customer management solution where individuals answering your calls, SMEs calls, than AI or IVR. It sort of makes it more personalized. It allows for emotion and urgency. It makes it easier to deal with your customers, and they're more satisfied, etc. So, in a potential risk for this business is AI, where Google did the thing with their voice. So, how we addressed it in our pitch at the equity room, or even in general, is we looked at data on what people prefer, and we found that 85% of the people prefer speaking to a human.
Really? Only 85%?
Yeah, exactly.
I would think it would be higher than that.
No, I think that sounds fair.
Yeah.
You prefer talking to a computer?
Well, I think that Google's demo of it was duplex, right?
So now...
Yeah, but like if you throw a even marginally complex question to a computer, they're not going to be able to answer it.
Yes,
so.
I agree. I mean, okay, actually,
I
would say higher because I hate talking to Siri.
Is your bank Emirates NBD?
Yes.
Have you called them?
Never.
He does the bank.
They have an AI.
Yeah.
Have you gone through
And
that?
is it frustrating?
Oh man, dude, it's the worst. You just sort of like...
So is it like, yes, you said no. Yes, you said no. Is it like that? Oh no.
So it'll be like, what do you want to do? Do you want to check your bank statement? And then you'll say, yes, check my bank statement. And it'll be like, oh, could you repeat that? It's just like so annoying.
Yeah, dude, I changed my bank because of that nonsense.
Seriously?
I went through the pain of changing my bank because of this.
Oh, that's a shame because I do love that bank. So. But I guess he does all the banking, so I don't
Yeah.
It's they've got good customer service.
Yeah.
And they're
Yeah.
not bad,
Yeah.
Anyway,
But
we digress.
sort of,
So,
addressing
for
those
colleagues-
risks through either research or a potential solution that can be implemented. So on top of the research, another sort of solution to that problem with colleagues is we ourselves are looking at AI to, take the
Okay.
load off our agents. But if it's a non-emotion or urgency inducing call,
Right.
if it's just like, oh, I want to book an appointment at 8:30,
Right.
that AI does great.
Right.
AI is great for that. But if it's, oh, I lost my bank card and it's near, or I'm traveling to the US, what do I do? And I'm not a resident and I'm a
Right,
tourist,
yeah.
and then AI is just like, dude, human.
Yeah.
So yeah, in situations of that sort, humans are sort of more useful. So that's the sort of risks I'm talking about, where it's there, and the investor will ask you. You
Right.
just need to have an answer. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to address it. You don't need to. The investor doesn't want to know if you can fix it or not. The investor just wants to know if you've thought about it. You're aware, and you're still willing to go against it.
So, like for Ajinkya, the question I get asked a lot is, like, don't you think like autonomous cars are growing, and isn't that a potential risk? Or like Uber is going to be coming, and that's like people's car ownership is going to go down.
Yeah.
Which I agree with. I think that's going to happen, and I think that's why people will probably rent more often. Than because like for your day-to-day commute, you might use Uber, but like the minute you need to go out of town, you probably have to self-drive or.
Yeah.
And I think autonomous cars are at least 10 to 15, 20 years away.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Number 7, I think. Number 7 would be not having your vital metrics.
Okay.
Sometimes
These are?
entrepreneurs, CPA, LTV, depends what your startup is now.
Okay.
But usually...
Let's explain them.
Yeah.
So cost per acquisition.
Cost per acquisition, lifetime value,
Mm-hmm.
sort of your spend, your typical human resources spend, so the salaries that you're paying out, the operational costs, your burn rate, understanding your cash flow, when cash comes in, when cash goes out, what might be a potential risk in terms of your financials. Understanding these things is vital. You really need sort of these answers on your fingertips, at least CPA, LTV, your burn rate, and your HR or operational expenses.
But these are all assumptions at this stage, correct? Or are they based
Not
on...
necessarily.
It depends.
It depends where you are
In your
as a
business.
I mean, your cost might not be an assumption because
Yeah.
that's something you can figure out. But your CPA might not be, accurate right now.
Yeah.
But
So we had one startup who had a CPA based on 9 customers.
Okay.
That is stupid.
And it was just like, why are you
Can I
even
say
telling? Why you even like sort of approaching a VC? It's way too early.
Yeah.
It's been 1.5 months you've started your business. Just take your time, come back to us in 2 or 3 months time, and then we can look at it.
Right.
But just these numbers sort of need to be just off your fingertips. It can't be, I can check and tell you. Because a lot of investors will make decisions on the spot. Like if your CPA is too high, some investors probably like, no, this is just burning cash, burning a lot of cash. And some VCs want to do that, some don't. Yeah.
Is it okay to say the range that your CPA is, especially for seasonal businesses?
Yeah.
Something like Ajinkya is very seasonal.
Yeah.
So in December, our cost per acquisition is a lot lower because of the amount of tourists that are here.
Yeah.
But in May, it goes a little bit higher. So is it okay to give a range and explain that?
Yeah.
I guess it's a average customer acquisition cost. You
Yeah.
probably put that, right? That's
Also,
what we
it's
do.
okay to sort of give a CPA that's current and say that, it can be as good as this if we have, X number of customers, or if we,
Right.
are
Or if we scale up our advertising spend to this
Exactly.
level,
So
right.
that sort of gives the investor, he just needs, more customers. It's not that his marketing is bad. It's just that the business is not big enough to sort of cover that cost yet.
Right.
So it's good. It's okay to sort of have a bad CPA at the moment. I mean, it's a startup. It's expected when it's on the earlier stage side. But it's okay. Sort of. It's good to justify that. Okay, it can be that much lower. It's good to have. It portrays that you've understood your business and you've thought about this. You thought about the CPA.
Okay.
Yeah, number 8, I think another thing that's important is your attitude when you pitch. Again, like I said before, you don't want to be stressed out. You don't want to think that, okay, this is the last investor I will ever meet.
Right.
He is going to save my life. He's my God. Entrepreneurs shouldn't have that sort of mindset. Because that will just stress you out. And once you stress out, you sort of edgy and one difficult question and that's it.
Yeah.
Which is going to go down. So don't be stressed out. Just be relaxed. Be calm. It's okay. It's another pitch. That's something that comes when you rehearse a lot. When you go to it's the same way. I think a parallel you can draw is networking. The more you do it, it just becomes easy.
Yeah,
and,
definitely.
Yeah,
he's very good at networking. I'm alright. But he's always networking and he's always pitching. So I think that's what makes it easier, Then it's not daunting to go up to a stranger and like, you work so hard on your startup, you don't want to fail and you don't want to.
Yeah.
Something I've noticed is people who smoke are generally good
at networking.
Yeah.
You have an excuse, right?
Not just smoking, not at the smoking place, but just in general. Sort
you
of.
think so?
Because they're used to sort of approaching someone they don't know.
Asking for a light or something.
They're used to that. It's not a big deal for them.
That's true. Yes. I always see them huddled in.
This does not mean start smoking.
Yes.
Please.
But yeah, I do agree. Like, I think you should have a relaxed, not a casual, but a relaxed attitude when you meet any investor or anybody who might be even a potential partner for your business or even say a supplier. It's all the same. You're pitching your business to different people. It's not only investors. I think you should have a relaxed attitude. Otherwise, people can take advantage of you, or they might perceive you in the wrong way.
Yeah. You don't want to come out as too laid back and like I'm nailing this thing, But have you? I'm curious to know if you've ever had someone come and pitch and their attitude was so bad that you didn't let them finish the pitch.
No, we never do that.
No.
We like to go through the whole pitch and sort of.
Okay.
We like to see what's going on.
Yeah.
You never know. It might get interesting in the last minute.
I guess I was just curious as to how much it is like in a VC's office, how close it is to Shark Tank, where it's like I'm out and like like.
It's not like that.
It's not like that.
It's never like that.
Okay, I'm expecting.
VCs want to know because this is sort of market research for a VC.
I think what happens with Shark Tank is just drama for television's sake, but like in reality, most of the VCs are very helpful. They will give you suggestions about how to improve your business or what they think is potential problems with the business. They will advise you on what to do. They will probably, if they're not interested, or they might even say, okay, we don't want to invest in these kind of things, but maybe this guy might be interesting.
There's a lot of deal sharing that goes on.
Deal sharing, because some other like maybe one investor's portfolio might not be e-commerce or might not be transportation or whatever, so they'll say, oh, this guy does that, but they'll generally be very helpful.
I think that's very important for founders to know, because the worst that can happen is you'll get to finish your pitch and you'll get some advice and maybe you'll be passed on to someone else, or at least you'll know what you need to fix. So there shouldn't be that much fear.
We had one really interesting pitch where it was 2 college students. These guys haven't even, I think one of them graduated one day. I'm not sure where they were, but again, really young, sort of college startup. It had the whole vibe. Their pitch deck just was questionable and great idea though. It was a great idea, and they sort of came into pitch, and it was nice. It was a good pitch. We could see the passion, but we didn't invest. But it was nice to see sort of the passion they had and the interest they had, and they had missed off a few things. But it wasn't like sort of Shark Tank where we sort of destroy them. We did
kill their spirit and will to live.
No, but it does end with us asking a lot of questions. And that's only to sort of enlighten the more. So if a VC is spending time on you by giving you advice, questions, or sort of passing you on to another VC, they're interested, but it's just not good enough or at the level that they can invest at.
Or not the right time.
Yeah, not the right time as well. So what happened with these guys was they got advice and they sort of got a way to optimize their business. We helped them out. Well, we sort of, within the pitch itself, there were questions that sort of helped them, and a lot of things cleared up, and they understood what they need to focus on. And they went away with that, and we are totally okay with them coming back 2 months in to show us progress and sort of show where they are now. And so that's something that VCs are very open to. It's okay to sort of come back once or twice.
Right.
It's not going to be like come in every week. It's sort of going to get weird. But maybe 2-3 months in, if your company is doing better and you've addressed sort of the issues that were brought up in the first meeting, your first pitch, then feel free to sort of stay connected with your investor for sure. Stay connected with an investor or a VC. But from a VC perspective, we're totally okay with you coming back and pitching. But make sure you've made progress
enough
and
leaps.
big enough of a difference to sort of. Otherwise, it's just going to be horrible. It's just going to be like, why are you wasting our time?
Fair enough.
Yeah, and entrepreneurs need to be okay with sort of VCs refuting their ideas or sort of poking holes and finding what's wrong, because that's their job, right? They need to figure out what's wrong with this business.
I just look at it as free advice, when VC, like, I'm not saying it's easy. Of course, the VCs are tough. They will question everything that you're doing, every assumption, everything.
Even if they know it's right sometimes. They just want to see what you think and why you doing this.
And it can be tough, but every time I do it, like, I definitely learn something from that experience, or I get a new idea at least. So that's why I like it. It's even if you're not raising money, you get some business insights.
I think that's something really cool. So when entrepreneurs are able to turn it from a pitch to a brainstorming session, it helps them a lot. And it's
and I think it's fun for the VC.
It's fun for the VC as well, because every person in a VC, more likely than not, wants to be an entrepreneur eventually, or has an entrepreneurial mind where they sort of think of ideas and say, oh, this can be done, or that can be done. That's why they are in a VC, because they have that imagination, which sort of where they understand business and they understand a startup.
Right.
So it's fun for them as well, where they get to give their inputs and
and they get to feel like they're part of that business as well, right? So cool. So point number 9.
Number 9 would be this. Now this one's a little sketchy, cause not sketchy, but it's a little difficult for some startups, because it's basically highlighting your proof of concept. A lot of startups may not have a proof of concept or have a partial proof of concept, but if you have anything, make sure you highlight it. It might be like a small award you've received from somewhere. It might be just a little, token of appreciation at a competition. It might just be it could be any little thing, but
my mom likes it.
This is like idea stage you're talking about?
I would say seed stage, but even at an idea stage, if you've made something out of it, even if you've won.
But you're talking about seed stage, basically.
If
you've got some traction, some customers or awards or.
For Colleagues, for example, Tashil, the government service, they're one of our clients, and they awarded us with the best customer service award.
Right.
And that sort of served as a huge proof of concept, where one of the biggest agencies in Dubai awarded us with that sort of a title, and then we had Coke and Dunkin' Donuts, and these guys sign up with us. So things like that, where your proof of concept will sort of show the investors that this is credible, and it works. Validates it.
I think that
it's a huge leap though. Once you have a proof of concept, it's a big difference, because then VCs are like, okay, this will work. This already works.
But it's already working.
It's already working. But proof of concept for sure is. I mean, if you have it, use it. If you don't, that's okay. But if you have it, don't miss out on it. Don't waste this extra slide on your market research and fail to include a proof of concept, because. I mean, it's just a game of balancing, because you just have 10-15 slides like we discussed. So you don't want to put 6 slides on market research and like 1 slide on your proof of concept. No, you want to sort of turn it the other way and have more about you and your startup and your product, and less on sort of the market research and because those are not directly related, whereas your proof of concept is what your startup is. So
cool. And the 10th point.
And the final point.
The final point.
Number 10 would be have solid utilization plans. So know what you're going to do with the investor or the VC's money.
Right.
draw it down for them. We had one entrepreneur who sort of had his utilization plan to the fills. So it was like 10,000 dirhams, 262 10,262 dirhams, 0.33. I mean, it was an Excel sheet that he just divided, but it was nice to see that this guy has thought of this. Then there are some startups who would sort of add in a reserve amount. Now, different VCs will perceive this differently. We would not recommend it. I think
What do you mean by reserve amount?
So they
like a buffer.
So they'll raise 300,000, and then in the utilization plan, it's only 270, and then 30 is for sort of
for parties.
Not for parties, but they sort of leave a line where it's like other expenses, sort of in case of potential needs and stuff like that. It's sort of good to, if you've sort of arrived at that number with the calculation, then by all means include it in your raise. But don't sort of come up with a random, you know what, we might as well just need $10,000 more. Don't sort of add it in that way. If you want to add a sort of buffer and a precautionary measure, then makes sense, and be upfront about it. But don't sort of, it makes it look sketchy. It makes it look like, wait, what does he need? So what the situation was that this person was raising 300,000 or 400, whatever, not an actual number, 300,000, and his utilization plan was for only 270. And then till we had to go and ask him, what about this 30?
It wasn't even added as a line
mentioned.
item.
It wasn't. What about this 30? It makes it look really dodgy. So you don't want to do that.
Okay, but it's okay to say that we're looking to raise $300,000. 30% will be used on this, 40%, and that's completely fine.
A basic but detailed. Now, weird, but
no, I mean, like,
I get it.
What I do is in the pitch deck, I include basics, like 30% is going to be spent on this, or 50% on marketing, whatever. But then in the financials, I'll go deep. Like, what are we, like, in terms of marketing, what are we going to spend on? Human resources, what are we going to spend on? And how much it might cost. Like, we've done the breakdown. So.
Okay.
That helps. Having sort of an idea of how much goes towards operations, how much goes towards marketing, and just knowing that and having that new pitch deck is good. But be ready with sort of line by line breakdown.
Okay, great. So that's all of our top 10 mistakes to avoid when pitching to a VC.
Alright guys, so I think we're going to call this episode. If you guys want to get in touch with Ajinkya, we leave his information in the show notes. So you can reach out to him. We'll also leave a link for ASA Ventures so you can see some of the companies that they invest in, some of the things that they're doing right now. Should people send you their pitch decks? Okay, we'll leave some generic information down there. I'm sure you'll be able to find their email address.
I think the website covers it. We've got a separate section for
So you can use their website to submit.
Or I'll drop the generic ID that the team uses, investments at ASA, and then it can be through that, not to my personal.
Okay.
That'd be great. And
don't flood Ajinkya's inbox. We will give you an email address to send the pitch decks to. Follow the rules of the pitch deck.
Alright guys, so if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to watch more videos like this. We try to post at least once or twice a week. If you're listening to us on the podcast, we are available pretty much everywhere. We're on Apple Podcasts, we're on Google Podcasts, we're also on Anchor. If you listen to us on Anchor, then you can actually leave us a voice note and we will answer your questions on the podcast. So I think that's pretty much it.
Yep, and keep on hustling.
Alright, see you guys.
Bye.